Hi everybody, this is Kimberly from Starfish Designs. I am doing a video finally 4 years later for the ChaChing Wallet. Now I did do a video for it, but it was in Facebook and a live, so it wasn't the best video I've ever done, and I was pretty new back then anyway. So I did a whole new video. I am updating the PDF a little bit to make it more clear in some steps. So if you've already purchased this wallet and you would like the updated PDF, please post or message me through the Starfish Designs embroidery group, and I can get that updated for you. There's nothing really different, just a few areas. Like I realized I put the, when I did this stamp placement, the tab, I put it the wrong direction. Because I was looking at the PDF and it was like that in the PDF, but I didn't notice the verbiage. That's why I did it upside down. So I'm going to update the PDF so it doesn't look like that. So you'll see that in the video when we get to adding this tab. You want to make sure you don't have this piece facing up. You want this piece facing up. But anyway, and somehow when I was ironing it, I didn't realize there was a piece of tape there. So there's a little bit of residue there. So ignore that. This is, don't ask me where this fabric is. I got it from my local quilt shop. I just love it. This is the pattern. So it comes in 2 hoops. So the first hooping, you're going to make this tab and this panel here with the zipper pocket. And it has little zipper tabs on it. That just helps keep the seam on the side a little bit less bulk with that zipper. And it also just helps the zipper not go all the way over here to the edge. So it's just a small little pocket. You should be able to fit like your key fob in there for your car if you use a key fob, coins, you know, what have you. You always need a quarter for Aldi. I put my strap on too long. This is a wristlet strap. I don't know. I think I forgot to measure it accurately, but you don't want this much hanging. You only want about this much hanging. So I'll make sure I put a note in there in the updated PDF too. Okay, so we have 4 pockets, and you can see that each of these pockets, credit card slot pockets, will hold multiple cards. Then you have a cash pocket. So this piece is hoop 2, and these are separate pockets, so you can use a multitude of scraps. This is a great scrap buster project. And then you have this backing here. Let's see, did I forget anything? So, and then you close it up with your tab, and then you can add a wristlet strap, and you're all set to go. You can even hang this on a lanyard around your neck, which is why I actually centered this strap like I did. If you don't like it centered like this, you can get to that step and you'll see the placement lines, the middle of the hoop placement lines, and you can kind of move it over a little closer, but keep in mind you have this zipper tab area here. I got some loose threads here. I gotta burn those off. But this is it. So this is the ChaChing Wallet. Finally getting the video out there. This is my most requested video request. Well, getting it upside down. And finally gonna get the video for it. So there we go. Thanks, guys. Okay, I've gone ahead and hooped the hoop 1 file. I mean, I've stitched the layout on it, and we have some interesting pieces here. So what I've done is we're going to stitch out our geez, can I speak today? The zipper pocket exterior. So this is going to be the exterior of our zipper pocket. I'm trying to find some small scissors I can use to trim these as I go along. Okay, this will be fine. So you'll notice on our placement line here that we have, this is for our tab, this is for our zipper. There's 3 lines here. You're going to center your number 3 zipper in between this. This design is not meant for a number 5 zipper, only number 3. Number 5 will possibly work, but I made this before I started doing the trickery to be able to get number 3 and number 5, and I'm not going to redo it because it's a small wallet, so you really don't need that number 5 zipper. It's overkill. And then this is going to be the bottom of our zipper pocket, and you'll see I have a whole bunch of placement lines here It's very helpful if you take the time now with your little ruler and go around and extend those lines out past the hoop, the restraints of the file itself, so that it's easier to see it later on when you need to line things up. So I have my little hoop here, and I'm just going to use regular ink pen so it shows up better on the video. So go ahead and let me make sure I am recording. Yes, I am. Go ahead and use a pen, because this is not going to be in your seam allowance. Or I'm sorry, this is going to be outside your seam allowance. So go ahead and extend these lines just so that you can see them outside for lining up and measuring things later. Because if I needed to extend these lines all the way, I'd have to make this file larger, and I don't want to do that. This one was made to work for the 5x7 frames. Okay, so there's that. And it's been quite a long time since I've made this one. I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm going to have to look at the PDF and refer to it a lot because I don't remember which steps. Anyway, so this pattern does use zipper tabs. I don't think I did the modified zipper where it splits so you can move the pole. So we'll have to be mindful and move the pole ourselves. But your zipper is going to go here. I did have the zipper here. So your zipper will be here. I'm right-handed, so I put my zipper pull on the left-hand side. Most of the times it won't matter. You just need to be mindful of that zipper pull as you're going. We're going to put our 2 pieces for our tab over here. They will go over here, following the instructions. This is going to be the very tiny little zipper pocket lining. And what's very interesting about this wallet is everything is turned through this zipper pocket. It's how I designed it back in the day. That's how it is. I would do it differently today, but like I said, I'm not going to retrofit this. And then these are our 2 panels for our top and our exterior top and bottom. And I have interfaced these with SoFuse Plus, and I've interfaced one side of the tab with SoFuse Plus. I did not interface the tabs or the lining. It's not necessary. That's overkill. So let me refer to the instructions, because like I said, it's been a while and I don't even remember what the first step is. It's usually the zipper. Oh, no, I'm right. It's the zipper tab. It's the tab first. So we want to lay the interfaced piece of the closure tab facing up, centered over this here shape. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this off a little bit. We will cut this out before we finish, but you still don't want to extend too far past that line where it ends. And this is not directional, so I don't have to worry about that. So I want to center it over this. See, it's centered there. And I want to make it just go to that, into that line there. And then make sure that it's evenly spaced above here as well. Mine is. Okay, and then I'm going to tape it down, and then we're going to run step 2. I should have mentioned, if I didn't, this was step 1. We're going to run step 2, which is just going to be our stamp placement, so that we can make sure our stamp is even for the final bag. So that one will take just 2 seconds. So I'm just going to run that real quick on screen while the video is recording. And then we're going to put this tab right side facing down. Oh, what happened? Thread issue. Be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and finished step 2 while I was at it, while I was threading it. So you'll see here, there's a line here. Make sure I'm getting you in video. I'm sorry, my lighting is just not the best in here yet. Got to work on that. Hope that's better. Okay, so there's a line here. This is going to be what you use to line it up in your wallet later. And there's the snap placement stitch. So now we're ready to go ahead and place our other piece of our tab. And we're going to just reuse this tape. I'm using transfer tape by 3M. And I can usually get, at least 4 uses out of it before it starts to get non-sticky. I like this because your needle can go right through it, and for the most part it doesn't gummy up your needle. And I will have a list of supplies in the video description down below. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and run step 3, which is our main tab seam. So again, we put the second piece of the tab right side down. So this is actually a really great scrap buster project because all the pieces are needing small. I didn't label the pieces on here because, like I said, it was one of my early patterns. So I am going to go ahead and update the PDF a little bit. And when I do that, if you would like an updated PDF, just shoot me a message and I will get that to you. Oh, I think I did something wrong. Why do I have 2 seams? Sorry, 1 second, guys. Sorry, I remember now. So there's two seams here because what we want to do is trim the excess material to the exterior of this. I think, is that right? Why did I stitch that down? Hold on a minute. I had to like remind myself of how this works. Okay, so the reason I have 2 lines here is so you know where to trim the extra material so it doesn't get in the way of the rest of the bag. And we'll trim this this is the seam allowance right here. So we're going to trim this away, and then when we cut this apart, this will be cut apart. This is your final actual tab. So go ahead and trim all that extra material away so it doesn't get caught in your final seams of this piece of hoop 1. This is how we're able to reduce how many hoopings we do. So go ahead and trim it to the outer seam. And if you cut into that stitches, it's fine because we're going to cut that off later anyway. And we go to turn this inside out. Why do we always say turn it inside out? We really mean to say turn it right side out. But in all the years I've been sewing, which I'm not going to admit how many years that is, it's been a long time, we always say turn it inside out. The inside is already out. Anyway, the things that pop into Kimberly's head. Okay, so go ahead and trim this as close to that seam allowance line as you can. And again, if you cut into the stitches, do not worry about it because this is our seam allowance and it'll get cut off. But you'll see by doing this, you'll know where to trim this so that you have enough seam allowance for your tab. But the outer border where we're going to stitch later is exposed. Okay, see what I mean? So this little area is now open. So then we'll trim this off when we're all done. Okay, good thing I'm doing a video for this. I'm even confusing myself using the PDF, even though the pictures are in there. But like I said, this is one of my first patterns, so I've done things a lot better now. Now we're ready to put our zipper. So again, as I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and line this up in between these 2 lines here. And if you need to, it's hard to see on this white zipper, but if you need to, you can make sure the center of the zipper, which is that area that gets exposed from when the zipper teeth fall open, needs to be right over this center line. I'm tempted to use a number 5 zipper just to see if it'll work, but like I said, this is going to be such a small wallet. I think using a number 5 zipper would just not look right on here, and it'll take up a lot of space in the seam allowance and make it more difficult to open. So I like to put the tape just a little bit, like a 1/4 inch over the line here, and then anchor it down with a piece of tape, the zipper tape I meant. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and just make sure it's centered all the way down. Normally, if you've seen my newer videos, you'll see that I normally roll the zipper down to make sure it stays centered, but we don't have to do that with this number 3 because we just need to make sure it stays lined up in between those 2 outer lines. And I like to put the zipper tape the tape as close to the edge of the zipper tape as I can, just to make sure I don't stitch through it. Again, it's fine to stitch through it, but it's, you know, why try risking gumming up your needle? Now we're going to move this zipper pull out of the way, and we're going to run the tack down. Oh, I didn't cut off a big enough piece there. the tack down stitch, and we don't want that zipper pull to fly open on us. So the next step should be the tack down, yes. I'll do that on camera because it's only going to take a few seconds. Always make sure that you get your hoop seated correctly on your machine. And these steps are so short that I probably will just keep the camera rolling for most of them, because there's no sense in stopping and going and ruining the momentum of watching it and risking not starting the video again. I've done that a few times. So I just kind of put these pieces of tape up here so I can reuse them. See, that one got really close, but it's fine. That's just our tack down to hold the zipper in place so it doesn't, so we can take the tape off. That's the full purpose of it, is just to hold it onto the stabilizer itself so we don't have to have tape there. Okay, now we're going to run step 5, which is our right zipper placement. So we need to get those tiny little tabs, these. And at this point, you can trim this extra zipper off, even with that placement line, because that'll reduce having that zipper bulk in your final seam, which is one of the reasons why we're using zipper tabs. It helps to not have the zipper in the final seam because we're going to have a lot of layers. So we have that placement line. We're going to lay this here so it's right on that placement line, evenly spaced over our zipper. Tape it down, and then we're going to run 6, which is going to tack this down. I'm going to do this one on camera, and then the other side I'll do off camera. So 6 is going to tack it. And then 7 is going to be our top stitch. So I leave a generous amount here so that it's much easier to work with. So you'll trim a lot of this off in the end. So just gently fold it back against those stitches, and then go ahead and put your tape here. And then we're going to run step 7. And I forgot at the beginning of this, always check the PDF. Make sure the number of steps that shows up on your machine matches what I say in the PDF. Okay, so this is going to be our top stitch. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and repeat those steps over here. One thing you'll need to be mindful of, you need to open your zipper, but see how this zipper tape can come apart right here? If your presser foot is really low, it can get stuck in there and pull it apart. So take your tape that you just had and place it over there in that extra area, because we know our placement's going to be like right around here. That way the, I'll go ahead and keep filming. Sorry, excuse me. Oh. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, so then way it won't press open. So I got it right on the edge where that tack down stitching ended. Okay, see how that went? So now we can go ahead and I'm trimming the zipper first, but PDF actually tells you to do it after this step, but it's fine either way. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim that zipper tape, and then we're going to go ahead and put our, I did get a little tape stuck in there, put our second tab so that it's facing this placement stitch right there, right on that line. Then go ahead and tape it down. And then we're going to run step 9, just the tack down. As I lied, I'm going to stay on camera for all this. Okay, I'm going to trim that seam a little bit to reduce the bulk. I got the know if I cut this even or not. It's probably fine. It's not in the seam allowance, but just to be safe, I'd rather trim a little bit of that off. In general, you want a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and fold that open. Tape this down. Just gently finger crease it. And we're going to run step 10, which is going to tack down or top stitch that seam. Okay, now is when we're going to get to the tricky part. And you have to pay attention. So we have the zipper tab done. So we're up to step 11. So we're going to add the zipper pocket lining, one of them, and the zipper pocket bottom to the project. So which one is the bottom? I forgot to mark it. This way I need to label these. Did I hit that file open? I think it must be the shorter one. Hold on a second, guys. Sorry. I cannot tell you how much it has been great to be stitching again. If you're new here, I've been dealing with a pretty significant medical emergency since December, and I'm still recovering. Okay, so the bottom panel is the shorter one. That's what I thought. That's why I couldn't find it. I have the PDF open, not the Word document. Okay. Okay, so we're going to flip to the back of our hoop. And we're going to lay one of our zipper pocket linings. This is so tiny, it's really pretty much only big enough for coins. And you're going to lay this. And actually, I don't think I have this in the PDF. I've learned this trick since. And of course, I still didn't bring this seam ripper in here. But go ahead and take the time to remove the stabilizer behind the zipper now. It's much easier. My PDF will say to do it later, but in this case, we already have the tabs holding the zipper down. This is much easier to do with a seam ripper. But you just want to make sure that you can see your blade of your seam ripper or your scissors in between that stabilizer and your zipper. And then just cut along that tack down line on both sides. Just much easier to do it now than later. And you will have to forgive me because I do tend to be a little bit, repeat myself too much. I'm working on it. I know it's a bad trait. I don't want you guys having jokes and drinking parties for every time I repeat something that I already said 5 seconds ago. I think that's good. Okay. So I trim that away. Now we want our pocket. Make sure you got the wide piece going this way. And we want to line that up with the bottom of our zipper. So you can do that with the placement line. And you're going to have the right side facing down. And then we're going to tape it because we do not want this to come loose. It's on the bottom of our hoop. While you're working on the bottom of your hoop, be gentle with the placement of tape. Just lightly put it on there, and then if you need to, when you flip it over, you can kind of press it down harder. Okay, then we want our shorter of our exterior, so we want our bottom one. And this one's going to have to go upside down because it's going to end up being like that. I'll show you that when we get to it. Okay, so we want the bottom one right side facing up. The top of it is going to be aligned with the bottom of our zipper. And let me double check where we want our zipper pull to be. Yes, all the way to the right. That's right. And then what we're going to do is move it halfway through. So go ahead and center this over and then tape it down. And it's best to leave a 1/4 inch of the stabilizer, or sorry, the interfacing out of your seam allowance. I didn't do that. Oh, I did do partial tack downs in here. Awesome. I'm smarter than I thought I was. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and, wait, is that the right place? Why does that look like it's wrong? Nope, that's right. Must have this, oh, I do have it too far down, that's why I'm confused. I had it lined up with the bottom of the tabs, not the zipper tape. This probably would have been fine. Yeah, make sure you line it up with the bottom of the zipper tape, not the tabs. The tabs are a little bit long. It's going to stop halfway through. And then you're going to go ahead and if you need to take it off. Oops, 1 second, please. Okay, so we've done our partial seam. So now what we're going to do is lift up our panel here carefully and move the zipper pull all the way to the other side. Make sure that pull is out of your way. And then retape this if you need to. And then we're going to run step 12, which is the rest of that seam. This is why it's so important that your machine doesn't do a color sort or a merge. These colors are specifically to make the machine do some type of operation. It gives you time to move things, place fabrics, that sort of thing. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and pull our lining down on the back, and then the same for the top, and then we're going to do the same thing with 2 partial seams. So on the back of the hoop, make sure your stitching looks good, and then go ahead and pull this down and gently finger crease it. Like this. And then we're going to go ahead and put the tape back like that. Oops, this side I just messed up. You're going to pull this down as tautly as you can so the zipper pull won't get stuck. Then on the front we're going to do the same thing. If you have a boning tool or some other kind of pressing tool, now is a good time to use it, especially if you're using vinyl. You can use thin vinyls or even cork with this. I've done it before. It makes it a little hard to turn, but it's doable if you're patient. Okay, so go ahead and make sure that you have followed your PDF and you know which side the zipper pull should be on. Because we're going to do the same thing with the partial seam. So step 13 is going to do the partial seam top stitching. I really need my stiletto. It's very helpful to have a stiletto so you can kind of hold this materials down while you're going. Oh, this stitching is not really good. Ew. Okay, now go ahead and move the zipper pull over out of the way and then finish the seam. I'm trying to use up a lot of old thread and get it out of my repository of thread, and some of it is not very nice. Okay, so there we go. There's our top stitching done. All right, now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put on the back, we're going to lay the second panel down, right side facing down, so it's at the top of the zipper, and then put your tape to hold it in place. Like so. Did I get this cut? Yeah, I did. We're going to end up folding under the seam for this in a second here. Okay, so we got the second zipper pocket panel lined up with the top of it. Now is the tricky part. If you're using directional fabric, you need to be careful on how you lay your panel, your second exterior panel. Because if we lay it like this, okay, so if we lay it like this and then like this, when we fold it open, it's going to be upside down. So remember, this is going to get folded over. One moment. Sorry about that. The child is bothering me. Okay, so this is going to be, you're going to fold this over. This is going to be the back of your zipper pocket over your wallet. This is going to be front. So you want this material to be this position in the front. So you want to lay it like this and then just flip it over like so, and then it'll be in the right position when we finish this. Let's go ahead and tape that, evenly place it around here and tape it down. And then we're going to do the same thing with the partial seams to do the tack down and the top stitching. So I'm going to do that off camera and then we'll be right back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and run step 15 and 16. So I started with my zipper pull over here, moved it over here at the partial step, and now we can leave the lining as it is on the back, and we want to go ahead and fold the exterior down. And again, this is if you have interfaced your material or you're using some kind of light vinyl, a boning tool is very helpful to press this down. We're just going to tape it. We don't need to touch the back. The lining is going to stay exactly where it's at. Now it's probably a good time to check and make sure your lining didn't actually come loose on the back. We're almost done. So we're going to do the double. Yeah, the lining is fine back here. So we're going to do the double stitch 17 and 18 to do the top stitch. I might as well go ahead and do that on film for you. So we have our pull all the way to the left. You shouldn't have to pull the hoop out for this one. Move this to the right and then go ahead and finish with step 18. Okay, now we're going to do our seam for our zipper pocket lining. So what we're going to do is turn to the back, and if you haven't removed your stabilizer behind your zipper, you're going to want to do that. And then what we're going to do is fold up the hem for the zipper pocket, and we want to have a nice fold there so that it's easy to put it together when we're finished. So turn to the back, remove the tape, and you'll see there's a line right here, that line that we stitched. We want to fold the hem underneath for the bottom piece so it meets that line. So just go ahead and kind of work it until it's meeting that line right there. And then gently crease it. And then you're going to fold up the top one to meet the same line to create your seam allowance there. And the same thing, gently crease it. So remember, this is how you're going to turn your wallet through this opening here. So go ahead and put some tape down in these corners because we do not want that to come loose. Okay, so there's a close-up. Both of these are folded under at that line. Now on the front, we need to fold this panel up because we don't want to stitch through it, but we need to seam our zipper pocket. So go ahead and fold this one up out of the way. And you'll want to be very careful with these steps because depending on how your presser foot moves to pull the tails and stuff, it could try to get stuck on this little bit. So just keep an eye out and make sure if yours is going to start to interfere with that, that you can stop it. So we're going to run step 19. When it's moving to the next piece, make sure that, see what I mean? It could have got stuck there. So I needed to lift that up right away. You have to be mindful of where your hoop is at. Once this is done, I'm going to lift it up because it's going to roll up there and I don't want it to get stuck. Okay, so now this is all done. So now we're going to do our exterior basting and the snap placement, which is step 20, and that's our last section. So go ahead and fold this down. Make sure on the back of your hoop that your zipper pocket isn't extending into this line here. This one looks like it's a little close, so I'm going to trim it off on this side a little bit because I don't want it to get caught up in that seam there. So I'm just going to trim this just a little bit because the bottom is the most important. That's where the corners are. Okay, so, and you see how we have our tab is not going to get caught in those basting lines. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put this down. If you want to switch to a different color that is more obvious, here you can. Before you forget, go ahead and move your zipper pole a little bit so it doesn't jingle jangle out of the way. You can put a piece of tape there. Okay, and we're going to run step 20. And it's just going to give us a, oh, I forgot to mention, when you get to these little pieces here, sometimes the presser foot can get stuck on them. So it's helpful to put a piece of tape, just like this, where those seams end on both sides. So the presser foot does not get hung up on the little flaps as it's going along. And this is just a basting, which my stitches came all the way out of here. That's going to be in place. I'm going to redo that because my tension looks a little bit off. See how it got all wobbly? And I won't be able to use that to line it up, so I'm going to redo that step. So step 21 is just there to stop your machine from going back to the center and getting stuck on the hoop. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat step 20 and then I'll be right back. Okay, so it's all done for hoop 1, and make sure you go to the back and make sure nothing looks out of whack back here. So now we're going to go ahead and pull everything out, remove all the tape. Careful, because this is just a basting stitch. So if you pull too hard, you might pull those stitches out. I'm going to leave my zipper like this. So we already opened it on the back, and we'll be able to push that open later. Just getting all this tape off. So what we want to do is remove as much of the extra stabilizer as we can. If you use the medium tearaway, it's pretty easy to do that, right? I did a cutaway just because it's what I prefer, the poly mesh. So I'm just going to do double duty. So I'm going to go ahead and trim along here. I didn't even highlight the use of those centering marks. Those centering marks were if you needed to center your pocket or your exterior panels. I didn't need to center mine. I didn't fussy cut it. But if you fussy cut your panels and you needed something to help you center it, that's what those were for. Sorry, I didn't make that clear. Oh, I did miss a piece of tape. Don't want that because we need to turn through this pocket. I had trouble with my fingernails splitting, so I had to take my thumbnails all like back to the bed. I hate that. So now I don't have thumbnails to work with. You don't realize how much you use them until you don't have them to use. Okay, these little pieces I'm just going to pitch, but this bigger one I will put in my scrap pile because it comes in really handy to use to back up when you're doing satin stitching and things like that. So this one's big enough to use for that. So I'm just going to put it in my pile here. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and try and get as much of this underneath here out as we can and cut our flap tab. Again, make sure if you're using seam rippers or scissors that you can see your blade underneath that stabilizer. I mean, obviously if you're using tearaway, you don't have to go through this much trouble. You totally can use tearaway here. I'm going to go ahead with my erasable pen and make sure that I put this centering mark. I can see it on the inside here because we need to use that for centering later. Just cut around your little snap placement. If you cut some of the stitches, it's fine. You'll still see the little bit of the placement. And here's our little tab we're going to cut out. Just go ahead and don't cut into your zipper or your material here. Just carefully cut it out. Okay, and there's our little tab. We're going to trim that in a second here. Now what you want to do is you want to remove the stabilizer on this side too, because we need to be able to fold that pocket up out of the way when we join it to the back, the last of the, when we join it to the rest of the wallet. So otherwise it'll get in our way and you don't want to stitch it into the final wallet. So just trim away this here. I should have done it from this direction, it's easier. Same thing over here. People have been asking for a video for this for a long time. I have one in Facebook somewhere, but it was one that I did a live on, and so there's not the best for a tutorial in my opinion. Well, it is my opinion because I'm the one writing it. And now you see you have this separated, and you can go ahead and carefully cut away the extra stabilizer here too. And I said carefully, you don't want to cut into your pocket. It would be very devastating. So if you're using thin materials, you probably don't need to do this. It's fine to leave it in there. Obviously, if you used tearaway, it'll be much easier to remove it as well. So I'm going to switch over to this side. I don't want to cut into my zipper seam, so be mindful of that. So much easier with a seam ripper. I really need to find that seam ripper. Okay, and then you can trim these pieces away too. The more you can get out of here now, the better for when we do the final wallet. Trim all this stuff away to reduce this bulk. All right, there's that. So now this piece is all ready to go. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to mark my little centering mark over here. And then I don't know if I need it for these pieces or not. I don't think so. So the zipper, it's not going to line up there. But let me put it just to be safe. All right. All right, now we can set this piece aside for now. And you can kind of get the feel for what our wallet's going to be like. It's going to fold over a little bit like this. I'm going to put these pieces together, and you'll see you'll have a little bit of here, and then here's the front. Getting excited, aren't you? Okay, so now we have this last little bit to do. So go ahead and trim around here about 1/4 inch, and that's going to take off that last little bit of stay stitching that we did. And then what you want to do is notch the curve, or you can use sorry, my brain's not working today. Use a pinking shears and get this extra stabilizer out of here. I'm going to show you how to notch it though. And then you can just cut around that stamp placement to get that extra stamp off there. It's not a bad idea if you're going to use magnetic stamps, especially, to put a little corner of like a scrap of the fusible interfacing here, just to give some support to that. I might do that offline. I have some here, and what I like to do is you can even use that. Since I don't have the iron on, you can always just glue it in there. It's fine. It's just to give a little support. Let me grab my glue. I have to use my reacher thing because this new table is so deep, it's hard for me to reach everything. So I have my reacher thing, my little disability reacher thing. So put this in there, on there, and it sets up pretty fast, which is one of the reasons I like it. Though I think I got the lid stuck on it. Waiting for my son to try and call me back. He did not listen to me. He left to go to a festival with his friend. Didn't take enough cash. Kids. Okay, so I'm going to just put a little bit of on the fusible side, because we can always fuse this later. But we just want to hold this in place, and once we put the snap on it, that'll hold it in place. I'm using Fabri-Tac by Beacon. I'm not sponsored or anything from them, but it's just what I like to use. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and put that there to help support that snap when we do it. And now let me show you what I mean by doing the so let's go ahead and get all this extra stabilizer out of the seam allowances too. Let's go ahead and trim that out, because you don't want that in the seam allowance. We want to have a nice smooth one. I'm not going to press my tab because, well, I might. I have my little iron sitting here. This thing is so cute, and it's so great when you're doing credit card slots with one of my add-on panels. Let me do the stitch in the fold. It's a Cricut little baby. I actually just got a new. Let's turn this on. Oh, it's not plugged in. I always unplug my ironing surfaces. Okay, so use your favorite small scissors and then cut notches just into the curve. You want to do like isosceles, I can't say it today, isosceles triangles, about 1/4 inch. This is a small tab, so I'm going about 1/8 of an inch, and I'll have to pull those out when I'm done here. You don't want to cut into your seam. You just want to, I'm sorry, I hope I'm not out of camera. Let me see where my camera is. Now you guys can see me. This is one of the hardest things about doing videos, is making sure you stay in the camera. I just did a video for my new big wallet and didn't realize that I had the camera or the light in the video the whole time. You could still see what I was doing though, thankfully. I didn't have to redo that, because that would have been bad. And then just pull those little tabs out. And you can go ahead and add your snap now before you turn it, or add it after you turn it. I'm going to add mine after I turn it. See that? So this, what this allows is that these will spread out inside your curve. And it's very helpful to use a hemostats or something like that to turn this inside out, because it's kind of hard to do, especially when it's interfaced. And there goes the dog. Her master's not here, so she's upset. I'm going to trim the seam allowance just a little bit more. Okay, I'm not going to make you guys watch me hassle with turning this on the camera. So turn it right side out and then press it, and then go ahead and load up your interfacing, or I'm sorry, your stabilizer, and load the Hoop 2 file, and then we'll resume. And we're back. So now we're working on the rest of the wallet, which is going to be your Hoop 2. I've loaded it, and you'll see all these little tick marks that are along the way. And what I want you to do is use a ruler and extend all these lines. It's going to make it much easier for you to line up the panels and everything that are necessary for this wallet by doing this. And you can use a regular pen or an erasable pen. I'm using a regular ink pen so that you can see it. And I'm going to extend these lines too, because this is where the pockets are going to get lined up. And it's helpful to be able to see that at the other side of the hoop to the extension. I can't speak. If I'm being honest, I'm probably overdoing it today, but shh. I told my son I'd take it easy. He's at a festival right now. I took a break. I took a good hour-long break. So I'm not overdoing it. I'm just so thrilled that I can do this again. My back is a little sore, if I'm being honest. It's going to take me a while to get adjusted to being able to sit up for any length of time. Because, you know, as I mentioned earlier, if you're new here, I've been suffering from a major medical situation that has left me pretty much laying down 90% of the time since December. And it takes a toll on you. And I have a colostomy right now, and hernias associated with that, so I can't do any abdominal workouts to strengthen my abdomen. So it really sucks, but whatever. It's life. I'm alive. That's all that matters. So while we were gone, I went ahead, and here's our reminder. This is our hoop 1, and we have our little zipper. It's all the way open because we're going to turn the entire wallet through this little opening here. So we can set that aside for now. I went ahead and pressed my my wallet closure, and what I need to do is put my snap on it. I haven't done that yet. Then what we've started here is our credit card slot pocket. These lines are for that on both sides. They'll face each other. This is for our actual lining. So we're going to build everything backwards. So if you have a front and right side of your pocket material, if you want it to, this is going to be the right side here facing down. So we're building it up so that when we flip it the right way, this is going to be the front of the wallet. You'll see. I believe that's right. It's been such a long time since I did this, and I'm like, had to read my instructions. Okay, yes, so the interface side, I didn't interface mine, but if you interfaced it, you want it on the outside. All right, most corners meeting the bottom left intersection of the die lines. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So first we want to put our bigger pocket, right? So lay the pocket B or the GB pockets, which is, yes, the bigger one. So you see I have a short one here and the big one here. So we're going to line up this one here, and we want to line it up with this intersection, which mine stitches came out. Let me mark that with the ruler so you can see it. That just came out of there. This time I use the air erasable pen. Okay. So to make sure I'm doing this right, so we're going to line up okay, so we're going to line up this one. So I think this side needs to go down, and it's going to come open like this, right? So make sure if you're using directional material that you pay attention to that. So we're going to line it up with this intersection that is right here, this bottom one right here. So this one right here. And we're going to tape it down. So try to make sure it's even with these lines that I've provided you. So you see, this side is even here. This folded edge is even up here. I did not interface mine. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. You're going to line it up right here, like this. The folded edges on this line is going to get stitched down and then folded over like that. So go ahead and tape that in place. And then we're going to run step 2, which is going to tack these down. Okay, so let me do that and I'll be right back. Okay, now we're going to repeat this process with our second credit card pocket. Oh, I might have just pulled my basting stitches out. I sure did. Be careful of that. Okay, I'm just going to tape this down right down here to make sure I accidentally pulled that out. It's just a basting stitch to hold that piece in place. So be careful when you pull out your tape, because mine got in the stitches. Okay, and you can go ahead and do this here if you want, just to make sure you have that extra. So we're going to line this one up with this corner here on both sides. So right here, and this is the shorter pocket. So go ahead and the same thing, you want the right side facing down. You're going to line it up there. And I'm going to put the tape like this time so I don't risk stitching through it. The same thing over here. So right side facing down and lined up with that marker there on the grid. Be mindful these layers have gotten thick, so you don't want to accidentally get that hung up on your machine. So I'll go ahead and run step 3 on camera so you can see it's just going to tack those down. And you want to be careful when it comes over here that it doesn't flip that up. Depends how tall your presser foot is. Okay. Okay, so now we need to take one of our cash pocket liner pieces. I'm going to turn to the back of the hoop. And this is going to go off the hoop, and we want to line it up with that line right there that we stitched out in the very first placement that you just lined your pockets up next to. Right there. Okay, and it's going to go this direction. Right side facing down. Make sure you evenly space it on the top and bottom. And then we're going to tape it down. And this is kind of a long piece, so I'm going to put a piece of tape in the center too. Right here. Okay, now we're going to flip this over. Okay, and now we're going to put the second piece on the top. The same thing, we're going to arrange that so it's, you can use some of this tape here. So it's evenly spaced on top here and the bottom. Make sure you have the even amount on the top and the bottom so your seam allowance is good. Then tape it down. And I gave pretty precise cutting instructions in this. You're always welcome to make it a little larger. In this pattern, it doesn't matter. I have a couple of patterns where it does matter. Okay, now we're going to run step 4, which is going to tack all this down together. So this is where it can get kind of thick because you're going through all those pockets. Oops, and Did I just run? Oh, I don't know why I didn't like that. It didn't cut. Okay, let's try that again. Oops. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and remove this tape here. Well, let's turn to the back first, I think. Now leave the cash pocket on the back as it is for right now. We're going to fold this one over, remove the tape, and lightly finger press it. Remember, keep it against a hard surface when you finger press. And this is a place where if you have one of these small pressing mats and you have your iron handy, I have unplugged mine already. You could actually press it with your little iron. This cute little pressing mat I got on Amazon, so it can fit right under the hoop. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and tape this down at the corners to keep it taut. And we're going to run step 5, which is going to base this down and also give us some placement marks, I believe, if I remember correctly. Okay. So I'm going to run 5 and I'll be right back. Okay. So it's kind of hard to see, but 5 stitched out our base, did our pocket down, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 little tick marks. So take your air erasable pen, not a permanent pen, but one that's going to disappear. It will get covered up by the pockets, but just so you can see, and find these little tick marks and extend them so you can see them to measure your pockets up. Try to make sure they're even. And it's always a good idea for these placement lines to use a different color thread than your background so you can actually see it. But I can see it. Okay. So the next step, we're going to stitch this pocket down. So you want to fold that over, and see, we need to extend those lines all the way because they're going to get folded over here. This top one. Making sure it's all the way over so I can see it all the way. It's going to be covered up. Okay. So we're going to extend it over to that top line and try and keep it as even as you can so that your pocket is nice and even. Okay. We're going to do that on both sides. I totally mucked this up. I really wanted it the other direction, but I didn't have enough of this fabric. So I just did it how I did it, because I'm trying to make use of scraps of fabric here. Okay, this is really close to the edge there, so I'm going to go ahead and tape it down here at the bottom too on this side, because it needs trimmed. Okay, I think I did that right. So this should be the top tack down. It's going to tack down, oops, here at the raw edge. So I'll stay on camera and do that because it's just going to take a few seconds. Always hold your thread when you start your stitching so it doesn't pull out. And if you need to, you can always pull the bobbin thread up. So this is going to stop your card from going past. And watch as it goes over here so it doesn't get stuck on the pocket. Trim your extra tails as you go along. Okay, so that was step 6. So let me trim these tails. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and fold over our second pockets. And it's helpful that we extended that line. I mean, it should pretty much just fold over evenly, but you just want to kind of make sure in case something's shifted. You want, this is what you're going to see inside this pocket. So you want to make sure it's lined up. So if you fold this up a little bit, you can see where it's supposed to line up here and pull it tautly, and then you can fold that back down on the bottom. And you know it's lined up right. Oops. And I'm going to put a piece of tape to hold this all down here. And it does look like I got this one off kilter a little bit. Let's see if I can adjust that a little bit. See, this is not even all the way through. So, let's see if I can inch that up a little bit. Okay. And you can use your ruler and make sure that it looks even across. Okay. All right, and we're going to do the same thing over here. Need a fresh piece of tape. If you need to roll this up to see where that placement is, and do that. Yeah, that's perfect over here, evenly spaced. I'm going to put the tape like this so it's out of the way, and I'm going to put one more piece down here at the corner. Okay, so this is where we're looking, going into step 7. Remember, this piece is still pulled out on the back. And then step 7 is going to baste this down. And this is where you might want to put, actually I put the tape in the bad place. You might want to put a piece of tearaway or tape to hold these pieces down so your presser foot doesn't get snagged on them when it's going around. Scraps of tearaway work for this as well. Change this one around. So, on step 7, that's done. All right, so step 7 is going to tack this down. Oh, and I forgot to call out, we had 15 colors on this hoop. So that's in the PDF. Always make sure you check. The time you don't check will be the time that you get it off kilter and you ruin your project. So if you stitch things in the wrong place, you could stitch everything closed. You know, you just don't want to do that. Oh, I'm really dying here not having any fingernails. So I just put my pieces of tape up here and then I clean it periodically with rubbing alcohol to get the residue off. Okay, so now we're going to turn over to the back and trim these threads. And we're going to fold over our cash pocket lining. Remove the tape. Lightly finger crease it. Okay. Pull it as taut as you can. Okay, see how this little corner right here is puckering up? I want to tape that because it could end up making the whole thing come undone while it's being stitched. So I'm going to tape that down. And this one too, just to be safe. This tape is affordable. You reuse a lot of it and it works. Okay. So now we're going to flip back over and we're going to run our top stitch for this whole area. And this is where it could get kind of bulky and you have a hard time going over it. So what I'm going to do is get a piece of scrap tearaway. That's why I always keep my scraps. That's not tearaway. That's, oh, here's some right here. I'm going to take a scrap of tearaway and I'm going to line it up right here so that it doesn't get stuck on my pocket tops. And we're going to run 8. You may not have this issue on your machine because your presser foot may be higher or adjustable. Mine's not, so they do make an adjustable foot for this, and I have purchased it, but I don't want to redo all my patterns to make it work with that. And the problem with it is it's oval, and so it tends to butt up to this. If it's, because it's not really designed for this machine, it's designed for a different machine with different hoops. And so you risk bumping the side of the hoop. Another alternative to scrap of tearaway here is wash away, like the plastic wrap stuff. Okay, that piece is over and done with. Okay, now what we want to do is very carefully, and I did go find my seam ripper, cut away this stabilizer from the pocket. So we're gonna I'm gonna start with the seam ripper, and then I'll probably switch to my I think it's easier from the back. I'll switch to the applique scissors. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this away. I'm gonna start just outside this seam, and it's only going to be for a a quick minute. Don't worry, we're cutting this loose. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna reinforce this with our, see, now we're able to cut that out because it's taut from the hoop, and we were able to get all the stabilizer out of there. And now go ahead and get your applique scissors and trim out the rest of this, because we don't want this in our final wallet. So just trim around. Oh, and I can still see my centering marks. That's good. Don't cut into your fabrics. You might have to cut some of that original line there. All right, so we're up to step 9. All right, so we did that. And now we're going to lay our main wallet lining. If you get some of these little singees that are in your seam, that you can do it now or you can do it after you're done. But this is a little trick. This embroidery thread is usually polyester, and you can actually take a lighter to it real quick and it'll melt those little stitches right into it. You just want to be really quick and it'll melt them right away. Don't hold it too long, else it'll, ruin it. Okay, so now we need our main wallet, what's going to show up behind here. So make sure I'm placing this correctly so I don't see very much of it, but I want it right side up. Okay, so go ahead and if you need to, fold this in half and mark your centers so that you can evenly place it here with those center marks that we had earlier. And it should fully cover up this. And I have my stabilizer, so it should cover all this up. All right, and then we're going to tape this whole thing down. If I can find it. Make sure you tape each corner because it likes to come loose when you're stitching. Make sure it's not loosey-goosey. It's nice and taut. All right. So there we have it. And you get an idea for what your wallet's going to look like. some extra threads down here. Let me get rid of those. Okay, and I think we're going to be in the same position where we want to put some extra stabilizer. See, this is step 9 is going to be our main wallet tack down. And I don't want to get stuck over those wallet seams, so I'm going to grab my tearaway and put a piece over the whole thing so I don't get anything stuck on those pockets. Again, you may not need to do this on your machine. This way I don't have to worry about getting the presser foot stuck on those pockets. So we're going to go ahead and just stitch this down. Oh, my seam is coming out. Darn it. Let me just start over. I'm going to show you what to do so it doesn't happen to you. My machine seems to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this thread. I'm going to take one stitch or two, hold the thread against the needle and pull up. And what it's going to do is pull your bobbin thread up. I took 2 stitches, so now it's being mad at me. But it'll come up. Just hold it tight and your bobbin thread will come up. It's hard. I wish I could zoom in so you could see what I'm seeing here. Okay, there's my bobbin thread, and then pull it. And I'm going to hold both of these together and restart this. And that's going to give us tension so that our stitches don't come out. Let's do this basting stitch. You see how it's now just gliding over those little pocket edges. And this is just a basting stitch, so we're going to be very careful and tear this tearaway off. And I could have just got away with putting tape on those, just like I did before. But so I'll get my seam ripper in here and get started on the edge, just so I'm very careful to pull it up. Then I'll cut alongside. Make sure you can see your seam ripper or your scissors underneath this so you're not cutting into your fabric. You should be able to see the blade. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. You should be able to see the blade underneath the stabilizer. It's kind of hard to see in here, but I can see it. I don't know if I cut it off that I can tear it now or not. And this is just a basting stitch to hold everything down the back. So if you cut into the stitches a little bit doing this, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. We're just doing this because my machine can't handle going over those thick layers easily. And we're going to save this because we're going to use that on the end. So next we're going to put our placement for our tab. Oops. That wasn't good, Kimberly. Our flap, whatever you want to call it, our closure flap. Oops, I pulled those stitches out. That's okay. Yeah, probably best to use tape to hold these pieces down instead of this tearaway like I did. Put the tape right here on the edges so that presser foot doesn't get stuck on it. That might have been easier. I think that's how I do it in the PDF. Okay, so there we go. Got all that out. Little pieces here we can get out later. Okay, so now we're going to run step 10, which is going to be the placement for our tab or flap, whatever you want to call it. And it's going to look a little bit off because we're not centering it over just this piece is being centered over all of this. So, and I should have used a different color so you could see it better. Let me use this pen and see if you can see it. You can see it better on the back here. It's right here to right here. And you'll remember we have that placement line on our flap, and that's the reason why we have it. So here's our little flap. So I didn't put my snap in it yet. So you want to have this so the cap is facing down. So let me just put a snap in it real quick so you guys can see that. Okay, so let me get this out of the way and get myself a cap. So on the flap itself, I like to put the outie piece of the snap. That's the piece that has the middle section that is like an outie belly button. And then I like to put the innie belly button on the main wallet that's going to hold it in place. And it's very helpful to use a hole puncher when you do this because it'll help get extra material out. So I'm just going to line this up with that little placement mark I did earlier. Center it in there like that. And you can use the awl that comes with most snap kits anyway, but I'm using it this way. So I got to look and see where's my interfacing. This is the outside, so I want the interfacing on the outside. So I'm going to put my cap on the outside, and my outie is going to go here, and then I'm going to use my little pliers here and snap that. And I like to rotate it 90 degrees, and the idea is you want that little bump in there, the little prong, to be all smashed down. And I didn't center my tape, but that's okay. We're going to live with it. So now you can see when we place this, we want it's going to be stitched here like this, sorry. Stitched like this, and then when we flip the wallet out, this is going to snap into the outside. So you want your inside or your cap facing down, and you want to use that centering line, if you can see it in here. I don't know if you could see it. I should have had you draw it earlier. But basically you want this to extend over there about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. 1/2 inch is good. So I'm going to make sure it looks even here, and you can get your ruler out and check a few areas to make sure that it's looking even across both sides. So here's your basting where the final seam is going to be. So on this side, we're right about 2 inches. And on this side, we're just under 2 inches. So let me move this over a little bit. So that's 1 7/8. Perfect. So use the ruler if you need to measure this up. And now we're going to put a piece of tape to hold this in place. I'm going to put a piece at the top and a piece at the bottom so it doesn't twist from the vibrations of the machine. Okay, now we're going to run the snap closure, tack down. This will get strongly tacked in once we actually put the exterior on it. So this is step 11. Now, I didn't plan for it, but I need to do it real quick. So this next step, 12, is for the D-ring strap connection, which is optional, but I'm going to go ahead and stitch it so you can see. I didn't think we left that tear away so you can see it a little better. And I have a piece of a D-ring strap connector here, but I forgot to cut a piece of material. So I think I'm going to use, I have some more of that pink left over, so I'm going to use that. So what I like to do is, I'm using a 1/2 inch hardware. So I like to take a 1 inch strip of material, And let me plug in my little Cricut here. Oh, it is plugged in. Did I forget to? I must have remembered. Let this heat up. Plug that in. So I take 1 inch. This ruler is actually 1 inch, so that works out great. And then I get a piece of fusible interfacing. This is too long, but that's okay for our purposes. I'll cut it. So it needs to be 3 inches. 1, 2, 3. And then I cut a piece of fusible interfacing that's a little bit smaller than that, so 3/8 inch wide, because half of 1 inch is ½ inch, right? So we don't want a ½ inch because there won't be any room for the fold. So we want to use a 3/8 inch piece of interfacing. I have some pieces down here. That's too short. Here we go. So we want to cut this 2 inches by 3/8 inch. So we want to try and keep the seam allowance, this out of the seam allowance. Okay, 2 inches. Sorry about the dog. Okay, so cut that away. All right, now we're going to take our little mat here and we're going to fold this in half. Just finger press it for right now. You want the center one to stay pressed. Just a minute. Then fold each long edge into the center and finger press it down. And this part's actually easier to do on the hard surface than on the pressing mat. And then you want the other long edge should meet that in the center. Should be even. And then take your stabilizer with the fusible side facing up, like that. Evenly place it in there, and then fold your strap back down. And then what you're going to do is use your little iron and guide it along to hold those long edges into the center. And then what's going to happen is the raw edges are going to get caught in the fusible, and so they won't come loose. See? And I didn't do mine very evenly, but that's okay. You won't be able to tell. I'm going to press from this side too. And then you're going to put your little D-ring, whatever hardware you're using, a lobster clasp or whatever, fold it in half. And then you want this to overhang your placement, which is right here, by about 1/2 inch, and then you're going to tape it down. This is in case you want to use this as a little wristlet and, you know, put your key fob in it in the outside pocket. I think almost anybody who has a car after, 2016 now has a key fob to start their car. So I'm going to put that tape right there, and then I'm also going to tape this piece down because I don't want that to come loose while we're doing the final stitch and that D-ring to flip and get into my stitch path. So I just take a longer piece of tape and then I tape this over here. Okay, then I'm going to run 13 to tack this down, and I'll be right back. Okay, and just like that, we are almost done with our wallet. This has actually been one of my most favorite patterns ever since I have released it. But I was missing this video, and I probably have at least one request a month. Hey, do you have a video for ChaChing? I even made a mini ChaChing wallet since, and I think there's a video for that one, but not this one. So I'm going to go ahead and trim whatever pieces of hanging thread I see. And again, you can use your lighter to taper these down. Okay, so now we're on to the final step where we're going to lay our, that was 13, we're up to 14. So we want to grab our zipper pocket from hoop 1, trim away the stabilizer, we already did that if you haven't done that, and then we're going to take the zipper panel pocket, lay it right side down so that the zipper pocket end is closest to the tab. Okay, so this is our tab. So you want the zipper pocket to be closest to that. And you see we have that basting stitch that should line up with this basting stitch. So we have our center marks here from original. Remember we stitched that originally. And here's our center mark. So we want to make sure, and you can extend that if you need to be able to see it better. Oh, I think, did this one erase? Yeah, this is way too wide, so that's probably part of the issue here. Okay, so we want our zipper pocket to be by the tab. I think this is right. Make sure I'm doing this right, guys. Yes. Okay, so I didn't put my snap in yet. I'll do that last. I don't know if I can do that. I did do it already on my other pocket. Yeah, let me do the snap first. So that's easier. So we already have this interfaced. There's a snap marker. I'm just going to put a, like I did before, I'm going to put a little piece of extra interfacing inside that, just to give a little bit of reinforcement to it. I had some small pieces in here. Where'd it go? Okay. And you can use anything to reinforce it. You can use an extra piece of folded up fabric or some thin vinyl, whatever. Normally I would glue this down, but actually this is on, so I'm going to just go ahead and fuse it. Forgot my little iron is on. So I'm just going to go ahead and fuse that in here to give a little bit extra for our snap. Okay. And now we're going to hole punch through there. You can still see the little placement through here. You have to maybe kind of fold this up a little bit to get there. Center it. I hope it lines up right because I didn't get that one on center very well. So we'll see. So you can always wait and do this at the end so that you can make sure everything is lined up properly. Okay, and we want our snap, our rounded cap to be on this side, and then our innie that looks like the belly, innie of the belly button on that side. And get your little pliers. Oops. And your cap goes on the bottom, so hold this in place with your fingers. You got to push it in there and wrinkle it up a little, that's okay. Cap goes on the bottom, press, pivot, press. And if you did it right, that should look like a smashed pumpkin, pancake, but it doesn't look very good to me, so I'm going to do it again. Press a little harder. It's much, I prefer using the the professional pliers or the mini table press. It works a little bit better. That's better. Okay. All right, so again, we want this snap to be opposite our flap. So this needs to be down here. This needs to be here. And I'm going to get some tape ready so we can line everything up. So all of these marks here should line up with that basting stitch we did down there, which that piece kind of came undone. Let me come over here. So this basting stitches should line up together like that. Can you see that? I think you can. Okay, so I'm going to line this up down here. If you have some pins handy that you can push through those corners to hold them in place when you do this, it's very helpful. But I haven't uncovered where my pins are yet. That's the problem when somebody else does all this for you. It's beautiful They have friends who want to help you, but the downside is you don't know where anything's at. Okay, that actually worked out perfect. Tape. And now we don't want that pocket to get caught in our final seam because we're going to turn the wallet through that pocket. So we're going to kind of fold up that pocket out of the way, and we're going to cover this with tearaway again. Okay, so I got this all taped down. And see this pocket? I'm going to use a piece of tape. I'm going to fold it in like this and like this. And then put a piece of tape between it to hold both pieces down. And we don't want to accidentally hit that, so it's good to put some tearaway over this to hold it in place, which I had that little piece I saved for that purpose. Okay, will this work? Yes, this is going to work. So I'm actually going to tape this down just so it doesn't shift on me, because I've had that happen before and then it gets bunched up, and that's not a very good picture. Okay. Again, tape is affordable. Getting a needle through your finger or messing up your project, not so affordable. Okay, so now we're ready for our final step, which is 14, which is our final seam. Now you're going to see on your machine step 15. We're not going to run step 15. Step 15 is just programmed in here so that the last thing we want is this machine going back to center and getting stuck on all this when we're all done. So that is just a stitch to help make sure your machine stops if you're on a single needle. Now, of course, if you're on a multi-needle, you know you have to add stops yourself for all the different color changes. Okay, it worked out perfect. And it's going to go around a second time for added strength, and also if you're using vinyl, sometimes the stitching might show through, so if you put another stitch just outside the first, it'll help strengthen those stitches so you don't see the thread in your seams. Okay, so we're going to do step 15. And before we finish, we want to look on the back. Always check your back and make sure that it is good and not any issues or any of the fabric coming loose. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and tear away this tearaway. It's easier to do this when it's in the hoop. Much easier to do in the hoop. I'll be right back. Sorry, my son came home, so I had to check in with him. Okay, so go ahead and unhoop it now. And I still have some tape on some places here. Thought I got all the tape, but I didn't. Okay, I'm going to put my hoop back. Trying to do something new now and make sure I put everything back when I'm done. So that, yes, I have to use my little reacher thing because it's hard for me to reach because I'm very short and my table is a little bit deeper than what I was using before. But it's much better. I was using a folding table and it worked fine for the most part, but sometimes my bean stitches would look a little bit wonky. Okay, so now the stabilizer, we need to trim away the extra stabilizer from the pocket or from that project. And so what I'm going to do is fold up it's probably going to be easier to do from the other side. I'm going to fold this up out of the way. Get all this tape out that I missed. Oh, yeah, I never did come to the back and take the tape off. That's what the problem is. It's okay. I'm doing it now. Okay, so I'm going to fold this up, and the goal is to get as much of this tearaway, or whatever you're using, cut away like me or tearaway, out of your seam allowance. And my scissors here, need sharpened. I need to find where I can take these to get them sharpened. Okay, and then I'm just going to glide it along here and make sure I'm not cutting into any of my layers of fabric. Okay. Another piece of tape I missed. Oh, ignore my son in the background here. He decided while mommy was doing the video to get on the elliptical. Okay, this piece came right out because we had cut it free earlier. So we're just going to do this. And this is totally optional. I just feel that you get a better end result if you get all this extra out of the seam allowance. Another piece of tape I missed. And it also gives you a chance to find all the tape you missed. Okay, final side here. Now this side I have part of that other lining in it on this side, so we have to be mindful of that because we don't want to cut that into that. So just make sure you're not cutting into any of the material underneath. I think there was one more piece of tape here. All right, these scraps are a little too small. I'm not going to save them. So I'm going to put these scissors away now, and I'm going to get my good scissors out. These are Kai 7205. These are absolutely the best. I've had them for years, and they're still sharp. So what we're going to do is go around and trim out around here. And it might be easier to do, no, it's not easier from the back. We're just going to do and trim about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Now, it's usually a good idea to leave these extra, your tabs, this tab's not, it's on this side, your tabs a little bit longer. So when we get to that, I'll show you what I mean. Try not to trim those too much. So let me see where my line, is still this side, okay? Okay, I think it's on this side. Yeah, right here's our little strap, our wallet closure flap. So we don't want to trim all that seam allowance off because it's going to take a lot of stress. And I did accidentally trim the D-ring strap connector wherever it went. That I should have left a little long too. But I must have snapped that in there. I don't even know where it's at now, but try to leave that a little long too. Okay, so I'm just going to pull, I pulled this forward, and I'm just going to pull this forward, the flap, and then trim the back. And I don't know how I did this down here. Okay, so all that goes to the trash. And then what we're going to do is we're going to notch our corners, round it over, and then do some tiny little notches in it because they're a little bit rounded. We want to get a nice corner when we're done. Don't cut into your seam, just do a little bit of notches all the way around on all the corners. Just a very gentle curve. But we want to try and make sure we get this nice finished edge on the outside when we're all done. Okay, same thing over here. And this is actually a little bit long. Let's trim this a little more. The next part is going to be the most fun part. I'm being sarcastic. If you have arthritis in your hands, you might want to ask somebody to help you. Definitely use some hemostats. I don't know where my hemostats are, actually. They might be right over there. I'm going to look and see real quick. It kind of looks, you know, you have this basting stitch out here. So you might worry that you're cutting into your seam. So look at it very carefully. so you know you're not cutting into your seam. This side is a little bit wild here. Okay. Let me step away from the camera 1 second. I think I know where my hemostats are. I have several pairs because I keep one at my sewing table too. So where are those cups? Oh, here goes the dog. Oh, there's the blow dryer. Can't see that being there. Okay. Sorry, I could not find them. Thought I had them, so we're gonna have to do this the hard way. I will try to stay in camera as much as I can, but if I'm being honest, this part is kind of hard to do. So we're gonna go through our zipper pocket, that opening, and then we want to go ahead and reach in and carefully finish opening your zipper all the way. So now, can you see inside there? And then I always start at the opposite corner first. Is my, yeah, it's still going. And you're gonna just gently push this in on itself like that into that opening of the pocket. And hemostats work so much better, or whatever your favorite turning tool is. I have a really cool bag turning tool from Sue, I just lost her last name. You guys know her. She has all the bees. Suki Sews. She has some great tools, so check her out. And one is like this large, weird clamp looking thing, but it works really great to turn bags. And I have one, but who knows where it's at. But you're just going to take your time because you don't want to tear your zipper pocket. And once you get one piece to come through, it's sort of like, they call this birthing a bag. It's sort of like, I've never birthed a child, but I've watched enough on video. It's sort of like birthing a child. Once you get to a certain point, the baby just kind of flaps out. And it's the same thing with these kind of things. More easy on a big bag, but even this, once you get to a certain point, the rest of it will just kind of magically glide out. And this is painful for me since I had to trim my thumbnails all the way down. Let's see, we're getting close to that magic moment. It's just gonna, you can pull this up and it's all gonna fold right out. I know this is really painful to watch, but you know, some people actually really like to see this. I do hope I'm in camera range. I would hate to have messed something up. So if I am not in camera range, I think I am, I apologize. Okay, and just keep pushing this through, and here we go. This is that magic moment I'm talking about, where the rest will just kind of come right through. And you can use your little tab to help. And it really helps to have some kind of curved object. Like I like to use the either the rounded hemostats or my 4-in-1 Alex Anderson tool, which I cannot find. It was on this sewing table last week and it just has disappeared on me. I don't know if my organization lady moved it or what. I have somebody I am paying to help me get all this together since I can't do it myself. I'm reaching the end right now where I can't. I'm gonna have to rest now because I reached my max. I think I've been at this for another hour and I can't do more than that because my wound hurts. Okay, there we go. We're making progress now. So just go ahead and get all those corners pushed out. And I do have this little glittery screwdriver here. Let me see if that'll help. Be very careful though, because it's squared off. I don't want to poke a hole in this after all this work. Okay, and then you can go all the way through that open zipper pocket. It'll come all the way out to get to the other corners. It's the benefit of doing it this way. This is a traditional way that people do this in bag making world. And I try for the most part to make my bags the way, or wallet in this case, the way it would be done in on a sewing machine as much as I can. As much as I can. But see, I have this interfacing on here, and it's great because it gives more body to the wallet, but it does make it harder to turn the bag out. Or in this case, the wallet. I keep saying a bag, but it's a wallet. And again, something rounded over, like knitting needles work really good for this purpose. Just try to get those corners out. I just realized I actually have my knitting box right over here. Could have grabbed a knitting needle out, but that's okay. And I was using a 90-14 needle for that whole time. And it gives you information in the PDF about what size needles to use. You can usually get away with a regular 75-11 or even an 85-12, although I don't think anybody uses, not 85-12, 80-12. I don't think anybody uses 80-12s in embroidery world. 75-11s or 90-14s. And sometimes I even have to go up to 100-16. Okay, I think that's good enough. Oh, this corner needs to come out just a little bit more. See, it's not very good there. There we go. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Make sure this one looks good because this is forming our edges of our wallet. So we definitely want this to look really good on this side. And there's not as many layers there, so it's easier. Okay, now let's finish pushing this corner out. And you can totally fast forward through this if you're getting too bored with it. But I'm just using this screwdriver and it's doing a pretty good job. I'm just being very careful because it does have sharp edges. And then what I like to do is run my, whatever device I'm using, I like to run it along the side seams too, and just kind of push those out. It just kind of gives it a little bit better body. And you can still see some of my thread, unfortunately. Okay, so I'm gonna get my little pad here. I'm gonna remove all this tape from these pieces. And I'm gonna press this, and it'll help make it nice and flat. The other thing you can do is use a heavy book. Get this all pressed out. This would probably be better if I did it on my heat press. I have that HTV Ront heat press, and I love it, guys. I love it. It's great for doing interfacing, especially for in the hoop projects where your pieces are rather small. But it's got a pressure system, so it would easily press this down with that pressure and give a better finish. Oh, my basting stitches are showing through there. I'll have to clean that up with the lighter later. I'm just going to go ahead and press this down. If you're using magnetic snaps, beware. I've heard this, I've not tested it, but I have heard that an iron too close to them can actually demagnetize them. So be aware of that. Okay, now let's turn it over on this side. Don't melt your snap, Kimberly. Do the same thing. Okay, and now we can go ahead and pull our pocket out. I'll give it another press after we close our pocket. Pull the pocket out, and then we're going to glue it together, or you can use a sewing machine actually, because this is a total open seam, or you can use double stick fusible or double stick permanent tape. I have a little piece of tape stuck there. But I just like this Fabri-Tac. Normally I use some binder clips or the, you know, those little glitter clips, but I haven't found those yet. I have a whole bunch of them. And did I find them the other day? No, they're not in here. So, but normally I would do that. But this sets up pretty fast. So you put it on within about 10 seconds, 25 at the max, it sets up enough that you can finally like finish turning your bag and close it. And then what happens is after about 24 hours, it fully cures. So I'm just going to put it in there. Okay, and then just go ahead and fold this tight against each other, and it'll go right together like that. And then you would normally use your little clips and let it dry for just a, oh, I got some on me. Let it dry for just a minute. And while it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and put my glue on it. Okay, now you can go ahead and tuck this pocket back in here. And you're going to tuck it in, and then you're turning it so that the right side is facing out while you're doing that. And just kind of make sure it's tucked in there. And the little corners are out. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and sew that closed, or zip that closed, and I'm going to do another pressing from this side. You can see how that Sew Fuse Plus, it left no wrinkles on this after I turned it. Look, this piece I haven't ironed yet. There's just a tiny little bit of a wrinkle there. It works so great. I love it. I think she's out of stock of the white right now, but make sure you go and check out Cast Iron Handcrafted and stock up on some of this when you do it, when she gets it back in. Okay, so, ooh, my hands are burning. So let's put some cards in here so we can simulate having cards. Okay, and then we go ahead and close it. And you want to kind of get it snapped. Oh, I did it backwards, you guys. Oh my gosh. That's terrible. My PDF must be wrong. Or I did it wrong. I'm going to go back on the video. So I did it backwards. I'll put a note on the video to fix that. That's why I like to wait to do the snap until later. I have a snap removal tool somewhere, but I have no idea where that's at. Let me see if I can get this off. I'm going to see if I can get this off, and I'll be right back. Okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Can't believe we did that. Let me get another snap set out. But Cam Stamps makes a die to remove the snaps, and it works really well. It's very easy. But I don't know where any of that stuff is right now, so I did it the hard way. Okay, so I think I might amend the video and say wait and do that last. So I did it backwards. Okay, so we're gonna flip this over. Oh, my card fell out. Oh, did I just get glue on here? Oh, you guys, I got glue on it. How did that happen? I don't know how I got glue on it. Maybe it was tape and I ironed it and didn't realize it. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this back. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it as long as I'm here. Mark where to put the snap so I have a little bit of leeway here so I make sure it's even. Just fold your wallet in half evenly. And then don't make it real close. You want a little bit of give in here because you're going to fill it up with stuff. Usually it's pretty much on point. I just need it a tiny little bit over the other way. Let me extend that hole just a tiny bit. And the pockets are a little bit generous so that you can stack multiple cards in it. Okay. So again, I need the cap on this side. Oh, I need the innie, not the out. I need the outie, not the innie. Y'all, you can tell I've reached my limit. This seems like really nothing, and in the olden days it was, but right now it's actually exhausting. My whole day is exhausting. I get done with work, I'm just exhausted. Okay, do I have it right now? Yes, I have it right now. Okay. Lord have mercy, Kimberly. I would have waited and finished it later, but I want to do it before and after picture for this, for the thumbnail of the video. Did I just break that? I hope not. Okay, and then what I like to do is snap and unsnap that like 3 times in a row, just to make sure it's working. Especially if you're selling these things, because you don't want to, see how hard it is to get off? You don't want a customer to go through that. You want to know if there's an issue so you can fix it. And I did get that a little bit on the crimp undone when I was doing that, so I might have to redo that snap yet again. Let's see if I can pry it open this way. Okay, let's try it again. Sometimes you just have to redo it a few times and it'll fix it or make it less easy or less difficult to unsnap. Okay. I think I did stretch that out a little bit when I was snapping it, so I'm going to try one more time.